Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Lindsay Canchola. I am the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Cimbria. I want to thank you for tuning in to learn more about the pros and cons of both in house and contract therapy. It's our hope to be able to provide you an open and honest dialogue from two outstanding senior living executives. Today, I have with me Bobbie Gray from Presbyterian Senior Care Network and Francis Salinas from Tabor Hills. Both of them will be sharing each of their journeys about transitioning from in house to contract therapy. So, thank you both for joining in with us. So, I think the first thing that we would want to do is just have you tell us a little bit about your organization. And a little bit about yourself. So, Francis, let's go ahead and start with you.
Absolutely. I'm with Tabor Hills Healthcare Facility and Supportive Living. We're a campus of caring. As you can see, we just celebrated our 128th anniversary last month. As the slide says, we started off as an orphanage in Chicago, and in the early 50s moved on to senior care. We moved out to the Naperville area back in 1992, and we are situated on 52 acres in the Naperville, Illinois area. We are a single site, and our mission is to promote independence and dignity for our residents. So we have, as you can see, various levels of care. We have a full independent living, skilled nursing facility, senior day services, and a supportive living as well, which is affordable assisted living.
Thank you so much for providing that insight. We absolutely love working with Tabor Hills on every service that we provide for you guys. All right, next we're going to have Bobbie Gray introduce herself and Presbyterian Senior Care Network.
Hi, I'm Bobbie Gray, Presbyterian Senior Care Network. Like Tabor Hills, we serve a wide variety of clients, but our area of service is from Washington, PA to Erie, PA, so the western side of Pennsylvania. We have 7 skilled nursing, approximately 600 beds, 8 personal care with almost 400 beds, and then we also have 2 CCRCs and a number of affordable housing communities. We have been serving this area since 1928, so we're a little younger than Tabor Hills, but still very mission-oriented as a not-for-profit. And we talk a lot about our why as making aging easier.
Yep. And again, thank you, Bobbie. Cimbria loves working with you for the services that we provide for you as well. So let's go into a little bit about how long you guys each had in-house therapy and the pros and cons that were involved in in-house, because obviously I know both of you had in-house programs for a period of time, and there was a reason why you loved it and why you were in-house. So let's go ahead and start with you, Francis.
Sure. So we had in-house therapy for about 19 years. Now I've been here 22 years, so 19 of those years in-house therapy. Some of the benefits of having in-house therapy was obviously the consistency in staff. There was familiarity there with our long-term residents. Another benefit is our staff, our in-house therapy staff, they were cross-trained, so they were able to pick up shifts as manager on duty on the weekends and such, and fill in departments that needed help. So that was definitely a benefit. The challenges or the cons of having in-house therapy, there was a fixed cost for a therapy director regardless of our census. So there was obviously an increase in salary expense. Every year, cost of living raises took place, and that was also an added cost for us. Another challenge was when our staff would take PTO time, we would still have to fill it in with contract therapy. So we were paying for their PTO time and then paying for therapy. So that was also a challenge to having in-house therapy.
Yeah, definitely. Bobbie, any insight that you can provide and tell us a little bit about your in-house program before you transition to contract?
So we have been in-house for about 15 years. I had been here for 10 of those and oversaw the therapy department for about the last 3 years. Like Francis, I would say the benefit was that you have access to a pool of people you can use at your discretion. So you can put them on committees. We had them in our emerging leaders program. And so projects come up, they're another pool of people that you can use at your discretion. In terms of challenges, I started to see it as a line of business that we really didn't know how to run. So productivity wasn't our expertise, especially when we were using them for these diversionary activities. And then I realized we were relying on one person, the senior director, to try to enhance productivity, as well as for all the compliance issues related to, again, a business we are not really proficient at. Over time, I would say things like they were all 40 hours a week, and I'm not sure how that decision was ever arrived at, but whether they had, enough work to do for 40 hours, we were paying them for that much. And they had expanded the number of rehab aides. They were doing a lot of other duties. For example, maintenance had given up doing any wheelchair repairs. And so we were paying expensive therapy time to do things like that.
Yeah, I see, Francis, you're shaking your head. Very similar dialogue.
Bobbie hit the nail there, spot on. Regardless if we were single side, multi-side, our in-house therapy department was doing exactly the same thing that Bobbie just mentioned. And with the exception of maybe the wheelchair repairs, but they were doing wheelchair cleanings and they were helping with activities for bingo. And I'm like, what are you doing over there? And the whole, Bobbie hit on something too, productivity. They weren't being productive as the Medicare, therapist that we need. The reimbursement wasn't there, but the cost was still there.
Right, exactly. We see that a lot. So you wade through and you went through the pros and the cons. Let's talk about what was the ultimate decision that made you want to transition to contract therapy. And Frances, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Sure. So there were four main things. One of them was obviously significant cost savings. When we started researching this, I got an RFP from Cimbria and another contract therapy, and they both did a report for me where our staff productivity was from 39% to 44%. And it just blew my mind because we were still paying 100% of their salary plus benefits and such. So that was one of the things, significant cost savings. Second item was obviously I wanted to see an increase in Medicare and the Medicare revenue with the PDPM rolling out October of 2019. The training wasn't there. I didn't feel confident in my therapy director with leading that new way of billing and reimbursing. So I knew that Cimbria had done their research a year or so before to make sure that their therapists were appropriately trained and such. The other important item was improved resident outcomes is what I wanted. Especially with using the both pharmacy and therapy, we have seen an improvement in resident outcomes. During the whole COVID period, we contracted with them February 2020. COVID hit the very next month, and we was the best decision we made. The last reason for switching is I was introduced to this well-being program. I don't know if Bobbie has that, but we added that well-being program on campus. The best thing we could have done. It's been very well received. We've received tons of compliments from I call her an exercise physiologist. I don't know if Morgan Knoll, if that's what she is, but she
Yeah.
runs the well-being program. And our residents across campus write letters to me just complimenting throughout the 2 years how Morgan has made sure that they kept their strength going. She was very creative during COVID in the summertime. She held outdoor exercise classes for my independent living community. And she had him out in courts, and she was doing chair exercises with them, fully masked, and they just were so appreciative of that. So those were four of the main reasons we decided to switch. And it's been the best decision we could have done, we could have made.
That's great to hear, especially with COVID happening right then. I feel like that transition could have really have been a dangerous one. So, Bobbie, I know you probably have a similar story, but yet a little bit different. What made you decide? What was that deciding factor to switch to contract therapy?
Well, I can remember the exact day that I knew it was going to be inevitable that we were going to switch. We were in a meeting with the leadership of the various rehab departments, and the current situation had been that they only worked Monday through Friday, all of them. And then to staff on weekends, we were using expensive casual PRN folks. And we were telling them that we were going to have to change this, that people were going to have to work every other weekend. And the reaction was, well, no, we're not going to do that. We have things to do on weekends. And that's when I knew, that change was inevitable because change wasn't going to come from inside. So we actually did not make the change until till the middle of COVID, which was interesting. But our finance department did an evaluation. We always knew that when we switched, it would be to Cimbria, because a newer affiliate of ours had been with Cimbria for 20 years. And their experience was so phenomenal that we knew that Cimbria was our preferred partner. And when our finance department did that evaluation, it showed that we would save $750,000 a year. And that's just, given COVID, given the penetration of the Medicare Advantage plans into our market and the margins that just kept getting smaller and smaller with them, we knew that we had to make the change. And, Francis mentioned the pharmacy. We love the idea of the synergy between pharmacy and therapy, and that certainly played a role in the decision as well.
Great. Wonderful. So, what was your transition like? I know you both have very different story from having this conversation, and I want this conversation to be very open and honest because there is a lot of fear in leaders such as yourself on actually doing the transition, and I think the biggest fear comes from the period of transitioning. So, Francis, can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yes, it was very challenging right from the beginning. It was challenging because, as I said, we've had therapy for 19 years. The therapy director was with us 15 years. So, of course, she was a staple here, very well liked. I liked her, nothing personal, but as Bobbie can probably attest to, our CEO roles are not always making popular decisions because we like someone. It's for what's in the best interest of our organization, right? So the challenge was, to be honest, getting my board of directors on board with making this change. Some of the board members had actually rehabbed and been some of our outpatient residents, so they were familiar again with our in-house staff. And I was challenged, and it took me about 3 months, but I finally, as Bobbie mentioned, had some financial numbers to show them where the savings would be. We didn't quite yield as many savings as Bobbie, but we did have the first year over $300,000 in savings, which felt good coming back a year later telling the board, see, I told you. And that's because of COVID. We were only paying for the therapy that we were using versus having, again, the fixed cost, right? So one of the other challenges was getting the board. Once I got board approval, my next challenge was obviously sharing this decision with my leadership team. And part of that leadership team was my therapy director, who took it very, not, she was very angry, very upset. She, of course, went and spoke to other employees, other members, and got everyone going, well, what other changes are you going to make? And I don't think I shared this earlier. I was the former CFO, and in July of 2019, I was appointed the CEO, and then I made a decision January of 2020 to go to outsourcing of therapy. So naturally, the other departments, the other communities were, well, what else? Is my job secure? Because there were these rumors being spread. I go, it's fine. This is a tough choice. However, Cimbria has been a phenomenal partner, and they actually hired a lot of our therapy staff, which was great. So that's something that went well. But
Good.
the challenge was the different departments of, well, how are we going to work with Cimbria? How are they going to handle this? The good thing is we were using Cimbria as outpatient when our in-house therapies were on vacation or PTO, so there was familiarity there. We had Justin Wolak was our therapy director then, and he came here as an occupational therapist, so they were familiar with him. So that transition was a little bit smoother. So that was a challenge, and then just getting to blend outsource our therapist with our in-house employees. That was a challenge. So it was a lot of meetings, a lot of communication, which Cimbria did a fantastic job on. They were willing to come on the weekends to meet my weekend supervisors. They were willing to stay late to meet my second and third shift staff members. So we made sure we rolled it out in a positive way as can be expected. And the bonus was they still got to see a lot of our employees here, a lot of our physical therapists and occupational therapists, TAs, CODAs, they were here. So that was good. We did have a casualty, and that was the program director. She was not on board with, Cimbria, so she did part ways, unfortunately. But other than that, the transition has been very well received. It's been 2 years, and it's been fantastic.
Good. Good. Bobbie, how about you? And how did the transition go? Is it similar, different?
Well, it was similar in that it was highly emotional for the people that had been with us a long time. They were angry, they were tearful. They went so far as to complain to some of the residents during therapy, initially. I would say, though, that Cimbria handled the whole thing very well. They thought of a lot of things about this transition that we didn't think of. What do you do with the people who are on FMLA, the people, the woman who's pregnant, the one who has student loans she's paying off by working in a not-for-profit. There are just a lot of dynamics that to think about when you do this, and they were great at coming up with all of those. They, like Frances said, the communication was phenomenal because they've done this so many times before. They knew the best way to time all this with the coming on, the announcement, the making the offers. As Frances said, we did hire a lot of the people who were already here. They were, the rates were not that much different than they were already making. So that went pretty smoothly. I would say some of the challenges, in addition to the whole emotion of it, was that unfortunately some of our team members accepted positions with Cimbria and then reneged later, which caused some, staffing problems on their side, but it was very well handled. In fact, may have been beneficial in a way, actually, because then Cimbria brought in people from their other contracts nearby, and when they could be a positive effect to say, this really does work. It'll be fine. You'll get through this. They really understood how, I think, could see ahead to the future of how well this was going to go. And the management was just extremely well done. All the communications, all the really staying in touch with us at all times. So we knew exactly who was accepting, who wasn't going to stay with us, and what the time frame was. I don't think from their side it could have been handled any better. I wish some of our team members had handled it a little better, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So with that, obviously you both, there were some emotional pieces to that. And so the transition was not necessarily easy as most people would probably think that it would be, which is what I really wanted you guys to say, because while it is a good decision and obviously Cimbria's mind, it's nice to hear that the truth and the story of, there are pieces of it that are really great, and then there are some hiccups along the way, and how we were able to handle that. So even though there were some hiccups, was it worth it? I would love to hear, how are things going now? Um, Obviously, as honest and truthful as possible. Go ahead, Francis.
Absolutely. So, Lindsay, things are going fantastic and they keep improving for Tabor Hills. We recently added respiratory therapy, so that's generated an additional like 6 to 7% in Medicare revenues. Overall, since our partnership with Cimbri on the therapy side, our Medicare revenues have increased 18% and 16% for the second year. So while our costs have been almost the same as when we had in-house therapy, so that's very impactful when we're presenting our findings, to board or the finance committee. And it was again one of the best decisions we could have made. A year later, we added pharmacy. So in 2021 is when we added pharmacy. That's been going very well, as from what I hear. A lot of the hiccups were just the procedures were different. We went from Omnicare to Cimbria, so naturally, when we have nurses that are used to, calling Omnicare and they deliver it within the day, Cimbria is doing that and even more. So there's less medication waste, so that's also yielding some savings in pharmacy expense. We've recently introduced pharmacy to our supportive living community, and that just started April 1st. And from the feedback I got this week, it's already saving my nurses time from doing the medication setups. I didn't realize how much time they were spending on that. So, how are things going? They're going even better than they were when we started. So, we're very happy. Cimbria has been a fantastic partner with Tabor Hills.
Great. Good. Thank you so much. And right back at you. Uh, Bobbie?
So I think it's telling that I had to go back in my calendar and look to see how long it's been because I thought it can't possibly just be 1 year. But it is. It's only 1 year since we switched, but that's how well things are going. It's just not even an issue. It's like it's always been in place. The Cimbria team functions as if they were our own team members. And the team members who, had to transition have come around. We didn't lose any therapy directors over it. All three are still in place. And in fact, on the side, some team members have said, "Well, we always knew this was going to be inevitable, and it's gone really well." And in fact, one said, "I appreciate working more quickly now. It makes my day go faster. I realize now that how much time I was doing other things that weren't therapy related." It's also, it's in addition to the financial benefits we've reaped over the past year, it's just one of those big things we don't have to worry about anymore. The staffing of it, it's all just taken care of. It's a big burden off to not have to worry about that entire department as well. So I would say, I would echo Francis's comments about the pharmacy as well. We've done the same thing, and that's going very well. So yes, Cimbria has been a phenomenal partner to us.
Great. Good, good. So glad to hear. And obviously, we think the world of both of your organizations. So, Francis and Bobbie, thank you so much for your insight and for everything that you and your community does on a daily basis. On the screen, I have provided contact information for both Bobbie and Francis, as well as myself, in case you have any specific questions that weren't addressed during this webinar. If you currently have in house therapy, and anything in this webinar has piqued your interest, I highly encourage you to reach out to me so that we can do a no pressure analysis and consultation, as both of these ladies said we did for them, to see how well your in house program is working. So, thank you both again, and thank all of you for watching.